our sponsor here.
In the latest issue of Spectre's Companion, go back in time to ancient Egypt as Nexi tells the greatest love story of all time, Mark Antony and Cleopatra. She should know. She was there. Fangs and blood and all. This is her beginning and their ending. Spectre's Companion is ongoing on Kickstarter right now. To support it, please click on the link in the description below.
So I gotta ask this. Did you hear it echo?
No.
Okay, so it's just on my end. I don't know why. On my end, it's just like it's an echoey thing, but cool. Yeah, I made that video by so.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, I can make videos. It's a secret sort of superpower, and not just of the naughty kind variety, but that's another conversation for another day, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the special twerk edition of Just Joshing because my guest Mason Easley tweaked is the right word. Tweaked his neck. What did you do? What'd you do to it anyway, man?
I was sleeping on the couch last night, and I think I just slept wrong on the pillow, man. And ever since I've had a hard time turning my neck all the way or nodding. It's been a rough day.
Okay, so I'm going to try not to make you laugh too much because I might just hurt you. So whatever you heard about me is probably true. Just going to let you know that up front, right? So, but now that we got that out of the way, how you doing today besides the neck?
Doing all right. It's been storming a lot out here, but and my science has been acting up. But beyond that, it's been fine. Wonderful. Having a great day.
Yeah, you can't breathe and your neck sucks.
That's right.
I almost want to give you a hug now. Here. Demolition Man hug. Demolition Man hug, okay? Yeah, that's right. So yeah, that I don't know you that well, but you seem like you're the type that would appreciate a hug. So that's why we did there. And so I guess I should ask, so your Kickstarter is ongoing, right?
Yeah, there's about a week left. So
oh wow.
It went fast.
Yeah, geez. That is fast. Yeah, so my question then is this then? Now that it's nearly over, are you kind of like, whoo, thank God? Or are you like, I wish it could go longer? Like where do you like
I'm very happy that it's coming to an end. It's very stressful. I'm happy it got funded. You're always nervous about that part, just getting it funded because like everyone's eyes are on you. You're like, come on, please just get funded. I don't care how farther it goes. I'm just happy it got funded. So, and we're great prepared.
Well, see, I feel sad because I do want to support more of you guys, but here's my problem. I live in Canada, so the shipping just kills me.
Yep.
So I can only pick and choose, and Kurt beat it to it. Otherwise, I probably would pick this one up. But
fine, man, no problem.
Yeah, I always feel bad though because I don't how do I put this? Because I know how much work it takes. Like it takes a lot of guts to get any work out there. And I mean, Kickstarter is cool in the sense that now you're like, I can do it on my own. But like you're putting everything on the line out there when you do that. So it's not like what how do I put this? There's a certain sense of pride, like someone actually sees the value of your work, and you're right, and that's a big part of it, man. So I mean, when someone's actually willing to do all that, that's just like buy your book. You're like, yes, right? I mean, and it's a cool way to build an audience. I mean, you got like I looked at it, it was like epic fantasy. I was like, oh man, that looks so good.
Yeah. There's always a little bit of you when you do anything creative. So obviously, if people embrace it, it's a good feeling. When people reject it, you're like, that kind of sucks. It's kind of like that hot girl you see, and you shoot your shot, and she smacks you down. You're like, but it's just, it's the nature of the game. You gotta, even if you fail, you gotta pick yourself back up and keep going. So,
well, like I said, I think failure, the only true way to fail is to quit. Even or you can learn from when things don't go according to plan. Right? That's just how it works. Like you have this idea that, hey, I got this grand plan of how this is gonna work. And sometimes it's like, yes, it works exactly like you imagined it would. And sometimes no, you know, you hear God laugh, and you're like, shh.
Yeah, but you know, like what you said, for me, I'm happy that it's ending just because it's very stressful. It's just a very stressful thing. I mean, it's a lot of fun. I love doing it. At the same time, you kind of want it to finally be over. You sit back and you look back on the mistakes you made, the positives and negatives, and then next time you do it, you can do a lot better. So I'm looking forward to for it to when it's over, I can do like an autopsy, see where I can do better for next time, and get get the books out to people. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, no, and congratulations. So for everybody watching and listening, I'm going to do this right now because I'm a trained professional or something like that. Mason believes me. I can tell. I can tell Mason is a full-fledged
I totally believe
here.
in
Totally trained motherfucking professional on this show. So that's out there for people out there. I'll definitely plug this back again before the show ends for sure. But yeah, so is this your first comic?
No, I actually did an older series a long time ago, but it was like before Kickstarter. So I'm actually looking to finish that old comic and put that on Kickstarter next year. So
that's an interesting question. So why'd you leave comics, or did you go on or did you leave comics?
Well, I kind of had to grow up a little bit. I got married, had kids, so my wife was like, "Hey, listen, that comic thing is great, but I need you to get a real job. And if you get a real job, you can still do comics." So I said, "Okay." So I went ahead and got a real job. I'm actually a teacher full time, and so
ooh, yeah, what grades? What grade level?
Yeah, it's awesome. Right now I'm off for the summer, so I got time to do comics, and I got weekends off and breaks. So hey, it's been fantastic. But yeah, go ahead.
What grade do you teach?
Oh, I teach high school.
Ooh,
special
that's nice. Well, high school's a fun age. Doesn't matter what kind of class it is because they're old enough to think they're jaded, but they're still young enough that they really want to be impressed. You have a really cool opportunity in a hostel. They don't get jaded until their 20s. Like that's how it works. You get jaded into your 20s, then you get your ass kicked something hard in your 30s, right? And then you just don't give a shit no more. And in 40, you become an optimist kind of by default because you just realize that nothing else really fucking matters. Like I'm too old for cynicism. I'm 40, by the way, just so you give you an idea.
Same here, actually.
Yeah. Too old
I understand.
To give a shit. Yeah, you get it. You get it. It's like, yeah, I've been through the bullshit. I don't care no more. I'm an optimist because none of this other shit works, right? So that's just.
Well, for me, it's like some of my friends that passed on. It's like, man, I'm happy to be 40 because some people, didn't make it past 30. You're just like, wow. And so, yeah, at this point, it's like, hey, I'm going to ride the ride for as long as I can until the very end. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm going to do even dumber things in my 40s than I did in my 20s and my 30s.
That's right.
Well, no, I mean, you get to that wonderful point where you just realize you don't give a shit anymore. Like you got kids, so I mean, you got some responsibilities still,
Sure.
but let's be honest, right? You don't really care about too much else. You're like, you know what? Everything's taken care of. Are they taken care of? Cool. I don't give a shit. I'm going to do this, especially. And as they've gotten older, you got more opportunities to do your own crazy stuff, right? You're probably, like I said, I sometimes look at like, those old ladies at the grocery store at Steel.
Yes.
right. I understand it because here's the thing. They don't give a shit. They're kind of bull. What are you going to do? Throw them in jail? Whatever. They don't care, right? Because they've lived their life and they're just going to do what they want to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Once I'm 7, I'm doing a lot of shoplifting. Can't wait.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, for me, I have a plan. When I turn 80, I'm jumping out of the plane.
Oh, there you go. What, skydiving or just jumping out of the
plane? No. We'll see. We'll see. The plan right now is skydiving, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, who knows? By the time you're 80, who knows what they got by then? Might have like a jetpack or something. Who knows?
I totally do that. Again, I've lived my life. There's a scene with the Adam Sandler Bob Barker rematch. It was a comedy skit on like Saturday Night Live, right? He's hit Bob with Ebola. Bob Barker was like 80. So he just looked at it, shrugged, just kept going because it's like, what are you gonna do to me? I'm 80. I've lived my life. What the fuck? I don't fucking care.
Well, that's funny because I remember their fight from, what was that movie? Was it Billy Madison or was it Happy Gilmore? It was Happy Gilmore.
Happy Gilmore, right?
Yeah,
that was the first fight, and Bob just smoked his ass.
Yeah,
right?
of course.
Yeah.
You know, mess with Bob Barker, man.
No one messes with Bob Barker. Bob Barker was the man. Even on TV, if he came on TV today, people would still like cheer because of what all. Is
he still alive? He's still alive.
I don't know.
He's got to be like 1,000 by this point. He's always.
Hey, listen. He could be. Hey. Doesn't matter if he's 1,000. He's Bob fucking Barker. That's just all there is. That is all the way it is, right? I'm Bob Barker.
Like 25.
Yeah.
Smoking hot.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Damn right. Damn right. That's just the way it goes. Well, this conversation definitely, I did not expect to go down this direction, but what are you going to do? So, you know, we talk about not giving a shit and end up going to Bob Barker. So I don't know. Trained professional right here. So you went and teached. So then with your first series, was when you said you had to grow up, like, what do you mean by accepting responsibilities with your family stuff? Or was it other, like, more maturity stuff?
It's just, you know, it was pretty much, it was financial reasons. I mean, you know,
oh yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know what I was doing with comics at the time. Kickstarter wasn't really around back then. Conventions, I wasn't making great money at conventions back then. I make great money at conventions now, which is kind of hilarious. But back then I wasn't making a whole lot of money at conventions. So, you know, basically I needed to support myself and my growing family. So I said, hey.
And totally legit. Totally legit. I asked that because the reason I'm asking that is I think actually what I meant was that example when you were younger, we'll say what, your late 20s. Is that about right?
Right.
You're trying to figure out how to do this thing, and you're like, what the fuck? I can't do it. Now you're like, I just breathe the right way, and people are buying my stuff. Like, what's the what's the difference? Right. But maybe there is a difference. You know what I mean? Like in all seriousness, there is a certain point of there's a confidence in who you are. I think the other thing about being 20 versus being 40 is when you're in your early 20s or like late 20s, like early to late, your early 20s and your late 20s are like a big difference in what you believe in yourself. Early 20s, you're figuring shit out. Late 20s, you've started to at least figure you out, right? And then you get into your 30s, you start you go through another phase where you're comfortable with yourself, but now it's almost like you're shedding all the unnecessary stuff. So you get to our age 40, where you're like, okay, we think we know how the world works, ha 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 ha, but again, there's a quiet calmness. You know who you are, you know what you're not, and you just own it a lot better, right?
Yeah, I agree with that. Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you think that translates on when you go on, like when you are going on a conventions? Like, this is who I am. This is what I do. I'm awesome. How are you doing? Is that kind of, is that the, whereas in your 20s, you might be maybe not so much?
Exactly. I went to my first convention when I was 25. And obviously, you know, as you get older, experience plays into it also, you know. Mm-hmm. I figured out what sold and what didn't sell. And, you know, I just got better at, you know, being a salesman at conventions. So yeah, by the time, you know, you turn 35, 40, you know, I know the ins and outs of the convention game, so I can make a lot more money and support myself better. But yeah, unfortunately, back when I was a lot younger, you know, doing my first series, I had no idea what I was doing. I mean, I got it done, but you know, I didn't know who to sell it to. I didn't know how to sell it. Again, there was no Kickstarter around, and there just was a very limited amount of places you can go with independent comic book back in the day. You know, but a lot of those barriers are gone now, so it's like a whole new field, and thank God it changed.
Well, it's comics have decentralized.
Yes,
that's like comics have decentralized. It's funny. I went to a comic shop on the weekend. I still get some mainstream books, nowhere near what I used to, because I can get Nair X by Bill Maas, or I can get another Batman. Yep. And at this point, honestly, fuck Batman. I mean, that's just where I'm at right now.
My favorite character, man.
Batman. Yeah, no. Oh, I think he's a great character. I also don't think he should have 30 bucks right now.
No. Absolutely not.
Right? But
That's right.
that's the sign of what I mean decentralization is. It used to be you'd go to the comic shop, you would get, I mean, X-Men aside, X-Men has the same problem Batman has. There's 30 freaking books where you're looking at it and going, I don't even know where I want to begin. I don't know if I should begin. Right?
Yeah.
Right?
It's all true.
But now, Spider-Man not as badly as X-Men. Spider-Man has moments, but Spider-Man most of the time was at 4. Right? Most of the time. Right? He had his moments where he went crazy, but I think the Clone Saga kind of after that, they went kind of like a more back to basics approach. And he's Spider-Man. He still sells. You can justify 4 books of Spider-Man a month, but they don't do 12 anymore.
No.
Like those days are done. Right. But what I mean is there was variety. Like you go to a comic shop and you'd be like, okay, maybe I want a Deadpool book or a Spider-Man book or a Thor or an Avengers or a Captain America or a Hulk. And you had this variety there. And okay, where it wasn't so good was other than Vertigo, you didn't really have an independent line for different like kind of books with a few exceptions. So now what's happened is those independent comics now have a vein into creating like yours, right? Have a vein now to kind of go, hey, I'm out here and I rock. I have a cool property. It's going to kick all kinds of butt, and you can do that. And now you go to a comic shop, like there's 30 books of Batman and not much else for DC. I was actually kind of sad because it's like, I love Green Lantern. There's not a Green Lantern book right now. And that's an audience that they're not serving. But that's also, so for a guy like me now, so I'm looking for something different or something new. So I'll go on Kickstarter. Now, the exchange rate and the shipping have kind of curtailed that a little bit. But at the same time, it's not, how do I put this? It's not I'm willing to take that chance on books every so often just because, right? Just because, right? But I want those one and done books. I can't do that in a comic shop right now. I can get these old properties. I actually was joking. Can I find a good standalone Marvel book right now? And it was like, see?
Okay. So see, when I was coming up, I was huge in X-Men, man. Like I was a big X-Men fan. I was like Jim Lee, Chris Claremont. That's my formative years in comics. Was those books. I think my first comic was Uncanny X-Men 256, and it's like Wolverine, doing like an upper slash on the Mandarin. It's like a bright orange cover. It blew my mind. But back then, there were just 3 X-Men books. It was Uncanny X-Men, it was X Factor, it was New Mutants. That's it. So, if you wanted to read X-Men, you got Uncanny X-Men, and you were good to go. And that's all there was. If you want to read about the old X-Men, you got X Factor, and that's all it was. Now it's like you go to a comic shop now, and there's like, I mean, honestly, I've been in a comic shop about 6 months, so I'm not sure if this is accurate. But last time I was there was like Astonishing X-Men, New X-Men, X-Men Red, X-Men something else. Then it was like X Factor, X Force, X-Men Children of the Atom. I'm like, okay, so, and I'm pretty good with like X-Men lore and all the, I mean, I know my X-Men pretty well. I was lost. Like, I'm like, I don't know where to jump in on this at. There's nowhere to jump in. So,
so you got a barrier to entry. But again, I think comic companies are like, well, the pandemic kind of killed everything. Shipping has changed yet again in the comic industry too. I think in the long run, it's good that it changed. But in the short run,
I agree.
But in the short run, they're trying to figure out, oh shit, now what do we do, right? And so they're selling their big. They're taking their biggest properties and they're putting them out there. And on one hand, you can't blame them.
No.
But on the other hand, you're like, if people ever get sick of this property, you're fucked.
Well, and that's something else too with like the those big IPs. A lot of that is just, trying to pump the IP up for films or television shows. And you can feel it because, when I read certain books, there's not a whole lot of, story there. It's mostly like we're putting out 35 issues. I mean, I'm tired with this character in order to get as much exposure as possible, because we know in 6 months we're going to put a movie out and you're going to say, oh yeah, that's so and so from that comic that I like, and I'm going to go up there and check out his movie. And then, and for comic fans, it's like, let's say you like one of those titles. Well, the other problem is that they cancel it after issue 12. So, if you're like into it, you're like, this is great. Then it just, they just stop it. It's over. And then they start all over again. And the entire story you just read is now like gone. It's totally rebooted and it sucks. So yeah, that's the other problem too.
I'm not as bad about that, but under one condition. This is the condition. Okay. The creative team gets to end their story, because see, here's the thing. I realize something too. If I'm reading a novel, it doesn't matter what the novel is. It can be an Alana Andrews, a Ray Bradbury. I'm reading Victoria Aveyard right now, right? Am I getting a full meal in the book? Yeah, am I getting a beginning, a middle, and an end? Am I getting the story? Am I getting the experience I want with this team? If the answer is yes.
Uh-oh. I lost you, buddy. I can't hear you. Uh-oh. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, the button got loose somehow. Okay, so where did I die?
You were talking about the creative team.
Yeah, leaving. So the creative team gets to tell their full story, and I get that full experience.
Sure.
It can end at issue 12. I don't give a crap. I got my story, and I want them to bail. So for example, I'll give you my example. Wonder Woman is a character I'm off and on. Like when Wonder Woman's really good, I think she's really good, but when she's not, she's really not. There's no middle ground. So I had Brian Azzarello and Cliff Chiang's run, which I thought was pretty fun. It was a throwback to kind of Golden Age Wonder Woman in some ways. Fun. It was a fun run. And then the next one after it looked horrible. So I did what any person had thought, that something that's like, I don't think I'm going to enjoy this. I bailed. I absolutely bailed. I didn't even look back. And everybody said you were a smart man. That had to still keep reading that for whatever reason, right? It was like, you were a smart man. And then the same thing when Greg Rucka came back and revamped Wonder Woman with Liam Sharp and the other rest of that creative team, I was on it again. And then when they were done, so was I.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Yeah. And again, I'm willing to give a new team. I'm actually more inclined to give a new team a shot than maybe the average person, because again, I know as a creative myself, I know the just the risk it takes to do those things, right? But if you write a good story, you tell a memorable experience telling that story, you can you can draw people to you. Doesn't matter what your story is. So I'm good with that. If you want to do, where I think comics need to go though is, okay, let's say Mason Easley does Batman, because Batman's his favorite character. So it should be Batman.
That would be awesome.
Mason, right? Why not? Think big. What the fuck, right? Batman by Mason Easley. Right? And that's what it should be. And every run should have the name of the property, but also the name of the creative, because you're building the creative up on top of the property. So, and that way what you're doing is you are drawing people. You can draw people into all these different works. Like, we all know what to expect, kind of. When a Grant Morrison writes a story, you gotta know it's going to be kind of wildly imaginative. It's going to go off in its own little tangent, and it's going to be, most of the time, a lot of fun, right? That's what we expect. So you build another person up like that. Like, this is just good business. You build them up, you build yourself up, and everybody wins, right?
Now let me ask you a question real quick, Josh. Now, do you think that Marvel and DC are are purposely not doing that for artists because they're afraid of another image happening?
I think that's part of it, but it's also okay. Marvel and DC, and maybe because of image, but Marvel and DC made a conscious decision that their IP was the most important, the most valuable asset.
Absolutely.
Can't fault them for thinking in those terms.
No.
So they don't value the creative team. There's another reason too. Okay, you sell. Mason Easley by Batman is the best Batman book of all time. I'll just say that. Why not? Go big or go home, I always say.
That's right.
Right? Now they go to you, hey, Mason, we want you to do another Batman story. You know what you go to them? Hey, DC, how much?
That's right.
Right?
Why not?
That's right. So if they don't build, if it's harder for you to build yourself up, it's harder for you to get leverage. And it's harder for you to get leverage, it's harder for you to ask for that buck.
That makes sense. I mean, I agree with that totally.
Yeah. Right.
Well,
now,
also because you hear a lot about creatives who work for DC and Marvel who are talking about how little they get paid and how tough it is to get, and this is like the top of the top. We're talking about, hey, I have to do GoFundMe's in order to keep my electricity on. And, I'm drawing Batman or I'm drawing X-Men, and it's a trip. Yeah.
Yes. And that's the other thing too. This is the other part of the decentralization of comics. It's really interesting is you now have the opportunity to build your own name now.
Yeah.
Now you have an audience. Now, again, if you don't fall into the, oh my God, I'm writing such and such, and you're more like, okay, I'll happily do that. How much? And you treat it like the business opportunity it is, they may not be so inclined to work with you. But on the other hand, if you have a big enough audience, you have that kind of leverage. Novelization example, okay? You saw Brandon Sanderson's Kickstarter, right?
Oh, yes.
So how much do you think Tor's going to have to pay him now? A lot, right?
Oh, yeah.
So he can write his own ticket. Doesn't matter what it is. They're going to pay it.
Leverage, like you said, as leverage, absolute leverage.
Yeah, exactly. They have no choice. And they know it because he does not need them. Now, that doesn't mean he doesn't want to work with them. So there is a little bit of that. But his next contract is going to be huge. And you can see it because when your problem as a Kickstarter funding is now you may or may not actually permanently need a warehouse, that is a very interesting problem to have as an author, right?
Heck yeah.
Yeah, heck yeah.
I'll give you another example. And unfortunately, I don't know her name, but she did a webcomic called Ava's Demon. And her first Kickstarter made $250,000. And her second one made $500,000. And her third one made $1 million. And Image immediately said, hey, we want to, make a deal with you. So now her comic is being published through Image. So that's another case where she has leverage and Image comes a knocking. She didn't go to Image. Image came to her and was like, hey, let's make a deal.
And,
so
and she's like, well, how much? And,
that's right. How much?
No, that's what it comes down to. Right? Like, we're a business. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We are a business. And
the funny thing also is that you talk about gatekeeping. I remember back in the day when I used to go to cons when I was like in my teens with my uncles, because my uncles were also artists too, and they were trying to break into Marvel and DC. And you had to like wait in the long lines to have an editor shred up your portfolio, all an effort in order to like break into the industry. And but now all that now is gone pretty much. Like a lot of amateur artists and indie artists and indie creators, period. They go through Kickstarter or they go through online or they go through webtoons.
Yeah, you can cut your teeth a variety of different ways now. And it's not just comics, like even publishing. Like publishing is going through this too. Not at quite the same speed, but we're getting there. Right? The big five is now the big four. The big five is now the big four, and the big four will probably eventually become the big three. Yep. That system of doing business is becoming obsolete because, again, speed and decentralization is now a real thing in all arts. It started in the music industry.
That's right. I remember Napster.
Everybody has. That was back in our day.
Oh, yeah.
I think the most hilarious thing, you want to hear the biggest irony?
What's
Metallica,
up?
who opposed.
I remember that.
Napster. Yeah, right. They did a concert on. They did a concert on Twitch.
Yeah.
Okay?
Oh, did they?
No. Here's the hilarious part. Twitch, recognizing that it was copyrighted music, changed their during their concert on Twitch, changed their music to something else so it wouldn't violate copyright rules. That is hilarious.
That's beautiful. Yeah, because they were. Yeah, I mean, sorry to Metallica fans, but they were being dicks back in the day. I was like, you guys can totally twist this towards your advantage, but you guys are just being like total a-holes about this. I remember that. I remember like it was yesterday, like 20 years ago. I remember that. They're just being like, we're going to sue Napster. We're going to destroy them. I'm like,
yeah. And there is, okay, so I'm talking about like creative content. It's more demand than it ever was. It's actually in higher demand now than it was even 20 years ago. But the reality of the situation is, you look at Amazon, you look at Spotify, you look at comics doesn't have this. That's what I think is interesting. Nor do books, really, right? Books, I mean, you have the option of going wide and doing a variety of things for books either. But if you look at music and you look at music's kind of owned, like owned by Spotify, even to some degree, like authors by Amazon. Now, authors have other options too. But if you look at music is one of the most potentially lucrative things for an artist. But they're only getting how many cents a download? Like it's nothing, or a play. Like that's just the way it is, right? And it sucks because, I mean, I look at like my business model for my podcast. Like this, like Twitch is not where I make my money. Where I make my money is my audio, because my audio is listened by a lot of people. My content, in one sense, doesn't matter. It's my audience, right? That's the real product for a lot of artists. And once you understand that, you can figure out, okay, that's it's all about building your audience, whatever that actually looks like. So
speaking of which, it's such a really good case of that going on right now in the media. I don't know if you heard of Eric July and like the Ripperverse.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah. He's a commentator on YouTube, and he started a comic book company last week, and he made like $3 million in like 2 days.
Yeah.
It's insane. But because he has an audience ready to go, so he said, hey, here's my book, you ready to buy it? And his audience came, with money in hand, and he made $3 million in a couple. It was crazy. A couple days. So.
Well, I mean, here's an aspect about Kickstarter too. Like I dabble. Like we mentioned, Brandon Sanderson, but another example is Kiss.
Yeah.
Do you remember Kiss's autobiography? How much it cost?
I remember how much it cost, but I remember it popping out. Yeah.
Yeah, $200 for the book.
Yep, that sounds about
right. $200 for that book.
I know it was stupidly expensive. I remember that. But yeah.
People bought it.
Yep.
Lots of people bought it. Enough of them, and I think it's one of the most important sales lessons that even like a lot of artists miss out on. Okay, something to consider for a future Kickstarter down the road. Okay, what is I call it the Disneyland package. Like, what is your Disneyland to your audience? Whatever that looks like. You got to understand, like, one of the reasons, okay, yes, it's Brandon Sanderson, but one of the reasons that was so successful, it was a one-of-a-kind, unique service. I'm going to release 4 novels mysteriously, and every quarter in 2023 I will personally deliver them to you. So you're getting one of the most prolific authors of our time personally delivering a book of his exclusively to you. Yeah. He's charging like $300 for balls, 4 of them, right? Something like that. It was or $200, I think is what it was. That's an incredibly lucrative. It's not cheap, but he made $40 million, right? So what does that tell you? One of the other things about reasons he made that much money was also we're not always going to the lowest common denominator. Establishing yourself is important. But you also got to understand, okay, let's pretend you have a super fan. What would a super fan want from your comic? And can you deliver it to them? Because if you create a unique enough experience, you don't need a lot of people to buy it to make it lucrative for you.
That's very true. That's very true.
Yeah. If 10 people spend $100 on something of yours, that ain't bad. That's a pretty good return. It may only be 10 people, but So what? Right?
Yeah. I don't know if you saw the comic Metal Shade. They had like 850 backers, and they made about $70,000, which is great. Yeah, I mean, but that's only like, I mean, that's under 1,000 backers. I mean, that's not a lot of people, and that's not hard to accomplish. You get that. I mean, so that's, yeah. I mean, so you're right. All you need is a certain amount of people to pay a certain amount of money, and you're golden. I totally agree.
Yeah, but again, think of it in terms of, okay, there's for everybody, and there's for my fans.
Yep.
All right. So then that's what you do, and you again, service experience, right? I mean, again, so when I do I'm doing, I'm going to be kickstartering my novels. One of them I'm drawing, and 2 other ones I'm going to play with, right? And this is what I'm thinking. What is the most ridiculous offer I can make somebody that I can possibly pull off, and how can I do that?
Well, like, what are some of your ideas? What are you thinking?
Geez. It's trying to mind me. I see. Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. One of my book properties is also going to be a board game.
Oh, that's yeah. Gaming is huge. Huge.
Has to be done right though. The thing about gaming, the thing about the gaming has to hit. You have to understand who your audience is, and more importantly, with a game, what is the experience you're trying to create in the game? Because that's important. If you don't have that, then then you won't make any money on it. I'm playtesting a game in prototype right now, and and it's leading to some interesting opportunities for me. And one of the things I point out is so we took the base game and we tried some new rules out over the weekend. Plays way better. It feels so much more what it should be, right? Because now it's like, because again, we are selling feelings, experiences, and ultimately stories. And the reason why stories are so hit people so much is because of the experiences and the empathy we create when we do this, right? We want to feel stuff. That's what we don't want this numbing, whatever the hell it is, right? We want to feel. So everything you write, everything you draw, if your goal is, if your goal is to connect to people, you got to understand how you're connecting to people, right? I did, by the way, my Alice in Wonderland story is the board game based on. It's Alice in Wonderland merged with Greek mythology. Alice is Pandora. So I've released 2 books already. Nice. One of them I got up for nominated for an award. So yes, that's gonna be one of them, and that's gonna be one of those. So that's one of those little things. Again, you can think about it. You're a fantasy series, right?
Yes, sir.
Why didn't you offer a fantasy treasure style treasure map as a bonus perk?
Spoiler alert. It's in there.
No. But how about as a separate poster?
It's in there.
It's in there. Mm-hmm. Ooh, you think again? Yeah, these are things to think about, right? People like maps.
It's a surprise for my backers, but yeah, it's in there.
Okay. So you got to think again. That's what you got to think about, right? Is you got to look at that. You got to think about that stuff because, and this is I say this, and I know some authors might disagree with me. You're in the customer service industry ultimately. Yeah.
Who disagree with that? That's totally true. Who disagree with that?
You'd be surprised.
Yeah. I mean, that is an absolute fact.
Yeah. You're in the customer service industry. So how do you best service? The cool thing about Kickstarter is Kickstarter gives you this opportunity to think about reinventing the service wheel. How can I create the best experience people get when they buy my books? Right? I mean, to simplify that as much as possible. How can I do that? Right? If you can think about it in those terms, then you can imagine all kinds of things. That's one example. There's another one I'm drawing myself, which is going to be kind of like, I'm scared to death because I'm not going to pretend I'm good, but it works for this particular story. But now when I'm thinking about rewards, like I'm going to have to offer drawings and maybe some cool like collector cards or something. And I got to think about this because it's got to fit also the world I'm building too. Because if it doesn't, then I've messed up the experience I'm creating.
The immersion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. One thing that I did, one of my perks that I did, geez, I'm drawing a blank now what they're called.
Tiers?
Not the tiers. It's like the one where you go past the goal and then you have the
stretch goals.
The stretch goal. And one of my stretch goals is actually like one of those vinyl stickers, with the logo. I was like, yeah, man, that'd be a great stretch goal to do. And like, I'm looking at the prices of like stickers, and I'm like, this is gonna suck because it costs so much money to get like a bunch of stickers printed off. So now, I'm searching for like a really good outlet for sticker sales. But but I totally agree though. Getting those little extra items to get that a little bit more of immersion going, it's worth the pain.
Oh, it's worth a little bit of that pain, right?
Yeah.
Oh wow, dude, I'll tell you what. I'll make you a little deal. This is the deal I make. If I can get myself another gig between now and the end of the week, I will support your book. All right, okay. Make you a deal. I'll make you a deal. I can't make it because if I make an absolute promise, I can't keep it. But if I say, you know what,
there's no Joshua on here.
Yeah, exactly.
You tricked me.
I did.
It's cool, man.
I don't want to trick you.
No, that's fine.
I don't know you very well, but but you look like you're a big man, and I probably do not want to be on your bad side. So I'm just gonna.
Ow. Thanks, Josh.
Well, hey, listen, I told you, I'm trying to make you laugh too much. I didn't say I would succeed completely. I mean, dude, we talked like 2 minutes before we started. You were already laughing, so you knew what you were getting into. Yeah, that's true. He's gonna make me laugh. It's gonna hurt a little bit. I'll forgive him this time. But I mean, that's the thing. Like I look at it. That's the thing. Like we are in a world where, I don't quite consider Kickstarter indie. They're not quite the same. They are similar, but they're not quite the same.
Yeah.
They're different communities. And that's how I kind of treat it. It's like they're different communities. But the one thing they do have in common is because, okay, there's so many good books right now out there. Like I'm sure even you're looking at some of them and you're like, I can't afford these. I want them all, but I can't. I got to choose.
Man, it's been probably the hardest thing about this experience.
Yeah,
is getting on there and saying everything that I want to get that I can't afford. I'm like, dude, I want that. Like, what the guy's name is? Again, I'm drawing a blank. Last name is Parker. Jake Parker. He just completed Kickstarter with a book called like Intergalactic. Absolutely beautiful book, man. It was like $50, and I'm like, hey, wife, can I get this book? She's like, no. So I couldn't get the book. So I missed out on it. And I got like the PDF. And, PDFs are cool, but like he had like it was like a jacket, and it was like interior art sign. I was like, oh yeah, stuff like that, man. And it's gone. It's over. So now I gotta wait.
So Mr. Parker, if you are listening to this show or watching this show somehow, some way, what you need to do is you need to hook up my buddy Mason. Just reach out to him and say, hey. Got a few extra copies. Here's my backer kit. We'll work out some.
Well, yeah, but to your point, that there are so many good books out there, man. It's like wow, it's so much competition.
So what you're looking for is that immersion.
Yes.
Like that's the big thing. The more immersive your book is, the better it's going to do.
Yeah, and also for me, a big thing for me was I wanted to bring out a graphic novel. I didn't want to just bring out like a 22-page comic. I wanted to bring out a complete story for people.
Yeah, I know. That's why I kind of want to back this because it looks really cool.
Well,
I can't make a promise. So that's the other thing. It's like I'm a man of my word.
Josh, keep in mind, it is U.S. only shipping. So So I gave you an out. You're good.
Yep. Damn it.
Next book though will be international. But yeah, this book, it's my first Kickstarter. I didn't want to. I've heard so many horror stories about people.
Oh yeah,
who
no, I mean, you might be in like. I don't want to get too much about politics in this because let's be honest, both of us don't want to be depressed. We've had a good time so far, but the economy is going to go into a recession.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think I know everybody can see this coming a mile away.
I think it already is in a recession.
Oh no, it already is. But I mean, we've hit that. We're still in the inflation.
Sure.
We're still in the inflation phase. Again, I'm not going to go too much into detail, but you could have just gone into the recession and saved a lot of people a lot of pain and grief. But I digress. We're not going to go there today, right? But there's the inflationary period, which is why part of the reasons why shipping's so fucking insane right now, right? Soon it will be a deflationary period, which will be painful for a lot of people too. But the one benefit is maybe next year shipping to Canada may not cost you quite so much. Right?
That's another reason. That's why I did. Yep, another reason why I did US only this time.
Because US is still reasonable. Not, I wouldn't say great, but it's reasonable, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Can't. No. I like one of the biggest detriments for me is there's been books I would have backed if the shipping didn't cost more than the book.
Honestly, that's why I didn't do it, because I was looking at some shipping rates. Even in Canada, it was like going into like the upper 20s. I'm like, it's kind of wrong for me to charge someone $25 for a book and then charge them like $25 for shipping. I think once you get to that 50-50 point where the shipping costs as much or more than what you're shipping, it's just
that's why that's actually why I waited for. So Rob Maltari does Nightwolf. I'm a big fan of that series.
Oh yeah, Rob's my boy. I love Rob.
Well, no, Rob's fantastic. Rob's right?
Awesome. And actually, a spoiler alert: Rob was my first backer on my Kickstarter.
So Rob's been one of my favorite guests. So you should have him tell the story of me, Monk Park, and him and Italian porn. You should get that story. It's actually pretty hilarious, right?
I'll be messaging him tonight about that.
Hey, Rob. I went on Josh's story. What this is about Italian porn? He'll start. Right?
Damn it.
Yeah. Sorry, man.
You're good.
I'm too entertaining for my own good. I'm sorry, brother. I'm sorry.
I knew what rabbit hole I was climbing down when I popped on, so you're fine.
Yeah. So I say it like this in all fairness, like, so I want to get Nightwolf 6, but the shipping being what it is, I'm actually waiting until Snowpaw 2. Mm-hmm. Because that way he can wrangle the shipping in such a way with those two books, they're not that heavy, that it's one cost. And I can justify that in my head. Also, Snowpaw might be my favorite book this year.
The funny thing, I actually did one of the wallpapers for one of his campaigns, and drawing Snowpaw was a lot of fun. I thoroughly enjoyed drawing Snowpaw.
She was fun. No, but his writing leveled up so much with Snowpaw. Mm-hmm. Like, he's better. Like, I don't think he realizes how much better that book made him yet. I can't wait to read like Nightwolf 7, 8, 9 and kind of really see where he goes with it, because I think the book's going to evolve quite a bit, because he gave her an incredible amount of depth in that issue. And now he cannot. Now what's it going to do? It's going to force him to take his other characters and level them up to her. Yeah. They may not be quite to where she is. They shouldn't quite be where she is, but they're going to be close. They're going to have to be, because she's way more compelling now than she was prior to that. And she was still a really cool character prior to that too.
Yeah, so. It's awesome. Like, the white werewolf, it's just badass. So
yeah.
Rob's one of my big inspirations, man. He's so good at what he does. Like, and the funny thing is, I've watched him grow from the very beginning. Like, we were at a con together years ago, and he was just getting that started. I think he only had like 1 or 2 books on the table. I was like, oh, what's this? And, Rob's a great salesman. And he's just grown so much from that, man. And
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, I really styled my campaign after his campaign. Like I text him and say, hey, Rob, man, I need your help. You know, show me how to do this. And he's been great. So Rob's an awesome guy, man. So
And special shout out to Rob Montori. Check
Yep.
out his books. After you check out Mason's, of course.
Yep.
Check out his. Yeah.
But yeah, Rob's awesome.
So writing or drawing, what's easier for you?
Writing, honestly. Not to diss any writers out there, but you know, writing for me is pretty easy. Art's definitely the more time consuming part.
Oh no, it totally is the more time consuming part. I've been drawing now for about 20 months. So
cool.
Yeah.
Welcome aboard.
Yeah. Hold on. Here, I'll show you. I did this at the last. I do drink and draws on the show.
Yeah.
That's my Mr. Fantastic.
All right. Cool.
And that was from Spy X Family, my current favorite manga. So I'm almost good. Don't tell anybody.
Keep it up, man. Yep. Keep it up. Keep on.
No. It's that was my pandemic thing. It's like I made a decision. So for me, this is how I looked at art. It scared me to death. Like, what if I suck? And I had this wonderful thought. So what if I suck? Just have fun. Right. It's my 10th rule of success. When in doubt, have fun. So
for me, one of my rules is always the greatest risk is not taking one. So,
yes. I don't know. I learned that one back in my high school days, actually. Yep. Right. Girl I had a crush on, I never asked out. Is actually one of the few. I still remember that all these years later. And I say that because, so this is one of those things that pain I get from that is a reminder to never, ever get more of those pains because they actually hurt. My fuck ups, my big mistakes. Oh, I don't worry about those at all. Right? Some of them, I was stupid. I totally acknowledge that. Some of them, hey, it was a cool experience. Some of them, well, I don't know what anyone was thinking, including myself, but that's neither here nor there. Important thing was I did it.
That's right.
And it's no longer in the
unknown.
system.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
Unknown is the worst part. I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, no, if oh man, it kills. Like I said, I still remember that girl in high school. Right? I still do.
That's right.
Right? It still hurts. Now it's not like the same kind of pain it was back then, but it's still like I'm always gonna have that. What if I had?
That's right. What could have been?
Yeah. Right. What if I had? Right. Different world, different rules. So and that's one of those things like if with life is right the unknown. I mean, I'm not going to explore every question I ask. I'm sure I'm not going to get that opportunity, but it's not going to be because I was afraid to. I ran out of time. I can live with that. I'm still good. If I do believe there's a God, but if there is a God, I go up there. It's like, do you have anything? It's like, couldn't you give me more time to do this shit? It's like,
well, and it's funny you mentioned that because one reason why I did the Kickstarter was because there was a lot of fear there actually to do Kickstarter. I was afraid, like, what if I don't hit goal? Like, what if I'm, embarrassed in front of my friends for not making a goal, blah, blah. And then, I was just like, dude, just do it and see what happens. Who cares if you fall flat on your face? It's your first Kickstarter, just see what happens. And I'm so glad I did it, just to get it out the way. And so I can say, dude, you did a Kickstarter. You have people paying for your book, your creativity. And it's just an awesome feeling. And, I'm loving it. But I am looking forward to the end of it.
You're like, what? Because you're like, when you're at the end, you're like, you're gonna get to this weird point. This is what's gonna happen to you, especially if this starts to roll and you start doing more stuff. Because I noticed that was a book one, not. It's done. It's a book one, which implies that there's going to be a book 2.
Oh yes,
book 3. And maybe a book 20. Oh, maybe not book 20. Maybe not 20. Who knows? I mean, it's possible, but like you might want to tell other stories. It might happen.
Who knows?
Truthfully, intellectual property is the last great pile of money. The challenge as a creative is recognizing the fact that your story, your logo, your whatever it might be, has power. And work, how many ways can you skin it? And what I mean by that is, can you make a book? Can you make a board game? Can you make a video game? Can you make a movie? Can you make an action figure, a cup, a tattoo? Like those kind of things. Like that's your idea. Cut into a zillion different, like Play-Doh. You're cutting your cook hair into a zillion different ways. And even if you only see a tiny bit of portion, hey, it's okay. It's okay. So for everybody watching, it's not the first time a kid has come onto the show. I had a 3-year-old son of one of the authors. He held the show hostage for 45 minutes. I'm going to tell you something right now. You know your place in the world if and when you see children in there, because you realize like they rule the world. Whether they realize it or not, they rule the world, and you're just there. You just realize I am no longer the most important thing in this room. And
yeah, she just rolled in and she was like, "Dad, ain't this done for me right now?" I'm like, "I'm on the podcast." She's like, "Gotcha, do it for me right now." I'm like, "Okay." So I'm like, so I'm talking to him, like, I'm doing this thing for her, and then she like falls in. She's like, "I'm gonna say hi." I'm like, "All right, well, there you go." So yeah,
she's the boss. Is she your oldest or your youngest?
It's my only, and she's 8.
Oh, she's 8. It's your only. Okay, then she definitely rules the house. It's her house, and it's your job as parents to make her not realize it until she's actually ready enough to actually truly run the house. I'm sorry, man. It's like, ow, my neck! Damn it!
Honestly, I haven't felt this kind of pain since high school. I played football, man. This is like a really weird.
So what did you play in football? What was your position in football?
I was a wide receiver.
Ooh.
And
took some bumps, I'm sure.
Popped.
Took some shots, I'm sure, with that job. With that position.
Yeah, I got bad knees because of that. So.
Well, yeah, it's. I mean, I'm going to give you kudos. Like I don't think it's not in my opinion. Lacrosse, MMA, and rugby might be tougher sports, and I'm going to say an honorable mention to ballet, because anybody that can stand on their own weight on their toes for that long is ridiculously strong, right?
I did that too, actually. I did MMA for about 2 years. You know, I wasn't doing anything professional. It was just like, with the class.
No. Wait, you don't.
It was awesome, dude. Awesome. I love MMA. So much fun.
I actually kind of want to try it. Again, totally. Yeah.
Really do it, man. It's
no.
awesome.
It's we're still okay. Canada's still a little. How to put this? We're still a little pandemic happy up here.
Oh, okay.
I'm not saying I wouldn't do it. I'm not saying we might be the only country in the world that might lock down again. I'm just saying that's we're kind of yeah. I think everybody else has moved on. I'm not entirely sure where we're at.
Dude, we were doing we were leaving lockdown when people were still like coughing up blood. It was like,
Yeah. Well, no. Well. Depending on the state, and some you never went into lockdown. Period. Yeah. Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Depending on the state.
Yeah.
But
I'm in Ohio, so yeah, we were like, whatever.
Well, yeah, but what I'm going to say is, like, now there are outliers the other way too, and Canada's one of those outliers the other way. So, and it's one of those things where it's just like, well, I'm gonna make sure we're not gonna go back in, because it's gonna be weird to get yourself into a position where you're getting used to rolling around and suddenly you can't.
Yeah.
You're right. So I'm still establishing myself. Like I said, I got a really cool opportunity probably happening with me in October.
Awesome.
When I turn, it'll be my 31st birthday. I will go into a gym. I will probably regularly get my butt handed to me for a while, but it'll be fun, because again, it's not. Oh no, totally. No, it's part of the game.
That's right.
It's part of the game. I mean, the only difference in when you're training for MMA versus, they might choke you out, but they're not going to try to break your arms or your legs deliberately, because they want you to come back and learn. But you might get choked out. I've seen that.
Unless you're stupid. If you're stupid, your arm will get broken. I've seen it happen.
Yeah, no, no, I have no ego.
Yeah,
I have no ego. I'm
yeah,
going.
that's good. That's good to have. Yeah, don't have an ego, because guys with egos, they get messed up.
Oh no. So I mean, one of those really interesting things is again, one of those things, you're going to be training with people who are way more experienced, men and women. Doesn't
Yes.
matter the size, the weight class, what, it does not fucking matter. They could take you out. They know how to do it,
Yes.
right? What they're first going to do with me is they're going to condition me to be able to take a certain degree of abuse. It's required. You're gonna have to put yourself through a little bit of a pace and get yourself in shape to have the stamina. So when you really can step into the gym or octagon or arena or whatever it looks like, right? You just don't get your ass KO'd with one punch, right? Or one good shot.
Oh yeah.
I mean, knockouts still happen. Injury, bumps and bruises occur, but it's not going to be because you can't take it. It might just be, oh, we got you on the jaw, like perfect punch, that kind of stuff, right? Not
honestly, man, it's so much fun.
Yeah.
You get bumps and bruises. I had a black eye from it once, but dude, it was a blast. And honestly, yeah, I stopped going because of the pandemic, and I just never got a chance to go back. But if you do it, dude, yeah, trust me, you're gonna love it.
I know. It's the discipline. That's the other thing too. Like art requires discipline. It really, really does. And the cool thing about a physical activity, whether it's football what I was going to say is playing at a high school level, even if it's just a high school level. I don't know how far if you made it to college or not, right? But any of those levels, high school is like compared to the rest of the world, that's you can be professional anywhere in the world, but in the United States on a high school level, right? So it takes to make it to the very top of that. Takes a very, very special kind of athlete to do it. It really, really does. So hey man, kudos you got that far. Like just right. It's not that even that's not easy considering how much effort.
Well, yeah. Well, when you're in it, you eat, breathe, and sleep it all the time. It was, in high school, it was when I was into football, it was like that's all I did, all I thought about, all I wanted to do. But I got hurt, and then I was pretty much done with that at that point because I was like, I'm not going to destroy my body, for the sport. I didn't love it that much, but there's some guys who loved it, and they still got messed up and never made it past college. But yeah, it's one of those things.
Well, yeah. Well, it's process of elimination. There's like millions of kids that do football. Then we get to college, it's like tens of thousands.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you get past college, it's a few thousand.
That's right.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it. It's tough. It's super tough. Can anyone do it? Yeah, anyone can. But there's a little bit of luck involved too, right? Because you're going to be taking a lot of pain. It's a pain business. That's just the way it is.
It's definitely a pain business. I honestly don't know how guys in the NFL do it because the guys in the NFL are so much bigger, so much more powerful, and you're just getting smashed by those guys on a weekly basis. Like, I went to Ohio State, and there was a guy named Justin Fields who was our quarterback.
Oh wow!
And he plays for the Bears now.
Yes, he does.
And he was in a game last season where he got sacked like 12 times or something. He got destroyed. Okay, and I'm like, that guy is a warrior because he's got linebackers just smashing him over and over again. Like big dudes who were like 200 something pounds, all muscle, coming at him full blast. And he got back up and kept playing. Kudos to him. But I'm sure he was in an ice bath after that. He got.
Oh no, he had nightmares. He had nightmares. Those you have 300, 250, 300-pound men coming at you full barrel. It's like getting hit by a truck.
Yes.
Right? It's like getting hit by a truck. Yeah. No. So there's that. MMA is another discipline, right? And MMA is another discipline. Again, I'm never planning on actually stepping in there to fight. He says so now. Then maybe one day you'll see me in a cage. I'll be like, why did you do this? Because I just want to see what it was like. That's it. Right. That's right. I just wanted to see what it was like. Do you want? I say, you ever going to? I have no interest in going to the top. I just have an interest in see if I have anything here, or if I should just stick to the gym.
Yeah, just have fun. That's all you got to do.
That's it, man. That's it. Nah, but the discipline's good. And I'm going back to art.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Athletics. I mean, the one thing I'm not an athletic kid. I'm just not. I'm all right. I'm me.
Sure.
But one of the things about I realize as I've gotten older is how valuable discipline is. Right, building good habits, building the foundations to succeed in other things, and that's the one thing sports really does teach. I mean, it's a meritocracy, right? To a lot of degree. I mean, there's some just God-given talent that you just looking at that you're like, oh God, like goddamn, like Justin Fields. I mean, do you get? Yes, he's playing for the Bears. Yes, he's getting killed by 300-pound linebackers. But to get to that, it takes a very special something to get there. Not just with athletic gifts, but mental toughness. But he had the discipline not to get caught with a lot of other things, right? And that's a real challenge, right? It's not, and art's the same way.
That's right.
This is very much a game of what are your habits. Right, and your habits will create merit. And the thing that makes, I think, art harder, right, is you can see almost an immediate impact physically when you play a sport on the effort you do. It's harder sometimes to see that effort when you put out a product, because you don't have the same measuring stick. Like, did it sell? Didn't it sell? Why did it? Like, there's a lot of factors why sometimes things don't sell that have nothing to do with you. So it's harder to look at that and go, well, did I do everything right or do everything wrong? Did I screw up? And sometimes you don't have a good answer there. It's like, I don't think I screwed up. I did this. And then I remember the old Captain Picard, Mr. Data. Sometimes you can do everything correct and still lose. And you're like, okay, is that one of these situations, right? Sports doesn't have that. Sports very much is, did you do good? Yes. Right? It's a lot of times, even in like combat, like when you look at MMA, the guy who does more of the right things almost always wins.
True.
Almost always wins. It's interesting when you have two guys that always do the right things. That's when it's like truly epic, because it's like now it's not. It's going to be a game of inches. Mm-hmm. Not a game of, like, that's what it really is in there. It's a game of inches, and because it's not, there's no gap. But you can look at a lot of fights based on the fact of like who had the better habits probably won. There are some exceptions, but what it comes down to, he with the better habits usually is the winner.
I can totally agree with that. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. So that's why I think, like, although it doesn't have to be athletics, I think athletics are a good thing, just simply based on the fact that you can see the results immediately of the discipline you apply yourself. Mm-hmm. Whereas, and it helps you with your art, because that mindset carries with you when you do this.
Art's one of those things where I oftentimes call it like a cruel mistress, mm-hmm. because there was definitely a lot of positives, and there's a few negatives too. You have to really be willing to dedicate yourself to the craft in order to get better, and you have to keep doing it. And I know a lot of people get frustrated when they're first starting out, and like you said, like the results they want isn't happening. And we've all been there. I've been fortunate enough that my style is a style that I want to do. It's coming out the way I want it to come out. I'm very thankful for that. I know a lot of guys who are really, really great artists, but they get really frustrated with their style because it's not where they want it to be, and they keep pushing and pushing and pushing. I saw a post a couple of weeks ago where a good artist friend of mine said he's given up, he's done.
Yeah, I remember that. I know who you're talking about. He's been telling my friends. Yeah, I know who it is.
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
Sad. It was sad to see that, because I guess he hadn't reached the financial level that he wanted to reach with his art. And for me, it's like, if I was just doing this just for financial reasons, I wouldn't be doing it. You gotta really, really, and not saying that he doesn't love doing art, but you have to love it in order to persevere and keep doing this, because that's all there really is to it. I mean, you gotta be kind of like a madman,
Well, Well, it's the same with athletics though too.
Yeah,
To be really, you have to be freaking crazy.
That's right.
And well, I think the word is obsessed. All right,
Yes.
you have to be obsessed with it.
Yes.
But at the same time, there's a how do I put this? So I'm at that age where I'm like, I made a decision 2 years ago in the pandemic that I was going to figure out how to make a living with my creativity. So I've watched my income slowly rise, slowly. It's not where I want it to be, but it's been slowly going up, right? And a lot of that is the head game of being an artist, and the head game is that you're worth something.
Yep.
Right. It's about it, and it's also a combination also of seeing the opportunities of art has a lot of transferable skills. Like you're a teacher. I'm sure you like there's things in your art that really apply to your lessons, your lesson plans, things of that nature all the time. So, but they have a lot of transferable skills.
Yes.
So, for example, I've this podcast is open door. I've created shows for companies. I've done video projects and commercials for their clients, as you saw earlier in the episode, right? And I say that only because I see the transferability to what I do. I can figure it out how to turn my art into a service, right? Sometimes, and again, because the creative aspect of taking your stories and out there, everything I've said earlier about that immersion is super important. Right. But also, but at the same time, you have to also recognize it's going to take time to get to where you want to be. So in the meantime, how are you going to get there? Well, you got to figure out how to use those skills if you want to make a living as a creative. How to use those skills in service of something. All right, and to that gentleman, I don't know him well enough to make a comment one way or the other. Maybe that part of the game wasn't there. And I'm not trying to maybe it was. Like, here's in all fairness, maybe it was. Maybe it just for whatever reason he hit a wall, and that happens too. And that happens too.
It definitely happens quite a bit. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, especially when your entire life depends on your performance in this field. Like me personally, fortunately for me, I have my career. I mean, I pretty much have two careers, where my other career, keeps the lights on and the bills paid. Yeah. And my art career fulfills me personally and spiritually and all that other stuff. And I think for some guys, it can be very stressful. Like,
oh, sure.
If you're really looking to push this as your sole way of income, and like in the States, it's different because in Canada, you guys got, like universal healthcare and all that. Here in the States, if you're not working a certain kind of job, you don't get any healthcare or health insurance. So you're like really in trouble if something happens, And
well, I look at it like a little bit differently. Like my dad's a naturopath. One of the things I learned very early on because of your medical system was how not to rely on it, because it's again, we're not going to dwell too much on politics. We've had a wonderful conversation so far, but how do I put this so delicate? Actually, I'll just say it. Your medical system is one of the evilest things I've ever seen.
It absolutely is.
Yeah, it's one of the evilest fucking things I've ever seen. And as a Canadian, it horrifies me that we've actually come a step during this time. We've come a step closer to yours than we were previously. Right.
Well, and I tell you, what's really sad about all that is that there's people here in this country who are actually okay with it being like that. I'm like people who are like broke and poor and who die early because of it. They're like, oh yeah, totally. We don't want that crazy. I'm like, you guys realize, of course, that it's affecting you, right? You guys are suffering while someone else is profiting off your pain.
Yeah,
like, it's a trope. Like real quick, I'm not going to go too much in depth, but for example, during the pandemic, if you went to the hospital for like, let's say like you were really in bad shape, like let's say that you broke a leg or something, and you go to like the ER, you were sitting there for like 6-7 hours, man.
Yeah, no,
easy.
Depending on the hospital, depending on the time of the pandemic, you can be fucked.
Oh yeah.
Here, there are still people waiting on surgeries. Right?
Oh sure.
Yeah, right. There's still people waiting because of how Well, I also with what we did in terms of what we, when the vaccines were trying to mandate them everywhere, what they also did to our medical staff has also played a big role in that.
Mhm.
But again, we're not going to go too deep into that.
No.
What we're going to say instead is, the medical systems in both countries suck, but mine's a little better than yours.
Yes.
But yeah, but yours is not exactly yours is not a bar I want to compare myself to, because honestly, and I've had this conversation with David Whalen, right? Mm-hmm. Even your education system, depending on what part of the country I'm in, yikes, right? That's all I can say, right?
The truth, man. I'm totally agree, man. Yeah, it's yeah.
Yeah, you know, again, you're not denying it. You can't, but I mean, it's just one of those things where it's just like, yeah, your medical system's worse than your education system, and that is, yeah. Anyway, we thank you for that part of that conversation. No, it's not I'm above talking about it, but it's just not where we haven't gone in that direction at all. And I don't really think either of us really want.
It's depressing, you know.
Yeah.
It's depressing pretty quick.
Yeah. So,
but the reason why I brought it was because, like, for as an artist, if you're like freelancing, you don't have that protection. That's that's a huge expense that you have to think about when you're doing like freelancing for people.
Yeah.
Like, when you're drawing like a 22-page indie comic for somebody, and like let's say you got like a pain in your side and you don't know what that pain is, you feel it as a lump, you might say, well, do I get that checked out for $100-something, or do I just let it ride? And then 2 months later it gets bigger, and then you go, oh, well, you know what? I need to go to urgent care to see if it's okay. And now you're paying $250 to get it checked out. Oh, surprise! You got some life-threatening disease now, and that's that's like another stress level that artists have to worry about.
Yeah, because you like yeah. I mean, the only thing worse than your medical system is your insurance system, right? And so and he's laughing because he's not again. Can't argue.
Like, I can't deny that stuff, man. I mean, yeah. I just laugh. People say we have the best healthcare system. I'm like, bro, you guys are just like lying through your teeth. We don't, man. It's like, have you ever like
if you got money, you do. Oh, yeah. If you like, I will say this is the one thing I will say. If money is not an issue, it is the best healthcare system.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But
you got money.
Yeah, if you got money, you're great. But if you don't,
it's rough out here.
I lived in the States. I know. I lived in Arizona, so I got to watch it.
Oh yeah, bro. Yeah, you really know.
Yeah. Oh yes, I do. Oh fuck yeah. I'm going to Mexico. By the way, note to Americans and even Canadians to some degree: if you have the Mexico as an option, take it.
Yeah, what's funny, man? Mexico's nice, man. People always say,
no. Oh yeah.
Listen, oh yeah. But that's another place, though. If you got money, it's fantastic.
Well, it's in some ways. Okay, here's the thing: they're blatant in ways that you can see it. For example, yes, there are some really crooked motherfuckers down there. There's no doubt about it. But there's like a quiet little arrangement between the crooked and what the system. We're not fucking with the money. For example, when I went to get my teeth fixed, I went to Mexico. Do you know what? There is nothing going on there at all because everybody knows don't fuck with the money. Right? If someone causes chaos there, no one's going to come. And no one's going to come, so they don't want that. So they want you to come. So they're going to say, you know what? Nobody bugs anybody. I'm sure there might, but I'm not going to ask about any arrangements there. I'm sure there were some made. But no one fucks with the money down there. They're a lot more. They're more honest about it, and that's the one. That's the thing about it. So, if you know right away, that's like, okay, if you don't got money, this place sucks dick. But we're gonna be very blunt about this. That way, right? You can put, and you'll see this. People from Mexico, that's why they come to the States, right? They go and get that money. Then sometimes they go back home and live better, right? Yep. And that's how it works. Now, I'm not saying that's what the United States or Canada should want to become, but that is the direction both countries are going into.
Hey, No lie. I mean, hey, no lie detected.
No, you're like, I'm with you. I'm sad, but I'm with you. Yeah.
It's a very depressing situation, but hey,
Yeah. Like I said, I lived in Arizona, so I got to see it. I've also lived in Michigan, so Michigan's better, but it's not. It's close to you. Like you got there's a.
I love Michigan.
Michigan. Yeah. My favorite city in Michigan's Ann Arbor. It's a fun place. Yeah, Ann Arbor's a fun place. Yeah. My family's in Detroit, so
nice.
Yeah. Well, yes.
I know what you mean.
Yep.
Nice.
That's all we're gonna say. But
nice on this side. No, let me stop.
Oh yeah. Again, welcome to America. Actually, that is the weirdest thing about the United States. Honestly, is literally the gap. You can literally see it. It's side by side. Take one step in one direction, it's like no man's land. And you take the other step in the direction, everybody's here. It's like
that
is
is
there a
by
wall?
design.
Yeah, I know, I know. But sometimes it looks like, is there a wall? Like what the?
What's crazy, man? It's like, dude, why is everyone on this side? It's
weird. It's I mean, some places are, again, the most blatant example of this I've seen is LA. But I mean, it's like you look and you're like, how? How does this work? Like, I mean, am I the only one going crazy here? Right?
Yeah.
And then you realize other people see it too, and you're like, oh, I'm not crazy. No, you're not. Why is it like this? And no one seems to know, but that's okay. Again,
it's like a video game. It's like like zones. It's like, oh, you cross over to the.
No, it's true. Yeah, no, and LA's like, Detroit, Chicago, New York, all the big cities got them, but LA is like the biggest example that I've ever seen in my life. So it's like, oh my god. But anyway, let's go full circle here. So I gotta ask this before we wrap up, and that's this: since you're doing a fantasy comic, are you a fantasy fan? And if so, what are you into?
Oh man, yeah, I'm a big fantasy fan. I'm a huge World of Warcraft fan. I've been playing that for almost since it started in 2004. Big World of Warcraft fan. Big Warcraft fan in general. I love Warcraft. I love everything that Blizzard does. So that's one. I love Willow. It's one of my favorite movies. Dark Crystal. D&D. I never really got into, but I've always appreciated it. So I like that kind of stuff. Final Fantasy series. A lot of my comic comes from those influences, like Final Fantasy Tactics.
So what's your favorite Final Fantasy?
Final Fantasy 3/6 on the SNES.
Me too.
Well, oh, really?
No. It was my first one. That was part of it. But also, the bad guy won.
Yes, Kefka.
Yes.
Destroyed stuff. Yeah.
No. But he's also got the coolest final boss music ever.
Yeah.
I just wish. Oh no, his final boss music is awesome, but he was easier than I wanted him to be. I wanted him to be a little harder.
Well, the thing is, by the time you get to that point, you guys are. Your character's so overpowered.
Yeah,
he's throwing espers at him over and over again. He's getting nuked by all your summons.
The most busted. Well, the thing is, I got the most busted spells, which was Ultimate and Quick. That is not a combo. That is not a combo that needs to exist, but it does.
It's funny. That game was cool because, like you said, the bad guy won, and then half the game was the world as it was, and the second half was post-apocalyptic world, and you have to go find everyone again. And you guys have to band together again and beat the bad guys you lost to. Amazing game. It was definitely one of my favorite ones.
I actually got it for the Steam, the upgraded version, where they had to upgrade it a little bit. So there's 4 bonus bosses in the game now and a bonus dungeon, right?
Nice.
So I love 7. I think Final Fantasy 7 has the best battle system of any Final Fantasy game. The materia system is amazingly fun. Little busted, but
sure.
but the idea of it is stupidly good fun, right?
Yeah. If I'm being honest, though, I felt that 7 was kind of a letdown from 6. I love 6, and I played 7, and I beat 7. I enjoyed it. It was fun when I was playing, but it wasn't as good as 6, in my personal opinion.
The story wasn't as good.
Well, and also like graphics too. I wasn't a huge fan of those graphics back. Even back in the day, I was like, yeah, you know.
No, I get you, but I was for me. Okay, there are things I think where I think seven was better than 6. I think in 2 ways, right?
Okay.
Just in 2. The battle system, which I just mentioned. I think the
I
battle
do like
system.
that.
Yeah. All right.
I agree.
All the cool extra shit you could do. The I can't remember what it's called. The casino, the chocobo area. You have chocobo races, the games within the games, the Coliseum. This is just one space in the game, right? But you could do so much cool shit. You had the underground submarine. You had like the hidden forest.
That stuff's yeah.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
So in terms of this is the thing. 6 is a better story. I think from the world immersion and the fact that the bad guy won is very interesting. And he had some really compelling characters in 6. 7 also had compelling characters. You can argue which ones you like better or whatever, right? That's a personal taste thing. But I think where 7 trumps 6 was the entire world was much more immersive overall. So it's like the game it's close, but I think 7's got in terms of all the cool shit you could do in 7, right? You didn't have enough cool extra shit to do in 6.
I would just say this. If I had to rate it, I would say FF6 is a 9, 7 is an 8. So to me they're very, very close.
No. Like I said, I feel the same. 7 is my second favorite.
I wouldn't say 7 is a bad game. I'm just saying it wasn't good.
No. If we want to talk about bad Final Fantasy games, about like bad ones, okay, for me personally, it's 10 and 12.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, Eric. Okay, 10. I hate Blitzball. I hate it so much. I love the sphere system. I think that system's really cool to level.
Yeah.
But I hate Blitzball. I hate it so much.
It's funny. Some people said that my character looks like Titus. And that kind of pissed me off. I was like, no.
12 was 12 was almost a good game. The problem with 12 was that their whole system turned everything into autopilot. So it's like, why am I even playing the game?
Yeah, I didn't even play 12. Honestly, I stopped at 10.
Yeah.
And then I think 11 was the online game. Because I was in the WoW, so I didn't care about their online game. Yeah. And I really stopped playing after 10. So
yeah. Well, like I think 8's a little underrated. 9 is just fun. If you're an old school Final Fantasy fan, 9 is just fun, right? It's not as good as the others, but you're not.
No,
it's not. But
it was just nice.
Yeah, it's just a nice, sweet game. 8, I think, is a little underrated, but I do think I can understand why. Like in that pecking order, it's the lowest rated one of them for me. But none of those games suck. It just really
on Tactics. Did you ever play Tactics?
I did. I wish it didn't have the Final Fantasy title. I think it's a neat. I think it's a different kind of RPG.
Yes.
It's a different kind of RPG. Mm-hmm. I think the story was actually really cool.
Yeah,
the story. Yeah. The story was really, really cool. I really like the turn-based Final Fantasy. It just doesn't quite feel like Final Fantasy for me. That all said, people like Disgaea, that kind of Tactics, that kind of those kind of games. I understand why they are ridiculously fun games. They're just, honestly, if you just called it Tactics, that would have been perfect for me. But I get why they called it Final Fantasy. Again, branding, I get it. Yeah, absolutely, right, absolutely. But yeah, man, no.
Another one that I really liked was Chrono Trigger on SNES.
Chrono Trigger's my favorite. So from the Super Nintendo generation, right? It's 3 and Chrono are my favorite, and Earthbound gets also a special little mention.
I never played Earthbound. Never played it.
I simmed it. It's not a perfect game.
Sure.
But the dialogue, in some ways, it still stands out today.
Sure.
Just the dialogue, some of the character developments, and it's got probably the coolest final boss battle ever. Like how you actually win it's a really interesting just concept. The game is like a 9.5 out of 10.
Okay.
It's a 9.5. I would say this, although I do still like 6 and 7 a little bit better than that. And Chrono Trigger is right there. It's not like, look, if you told me Earthbound was your favorite game, I'm not going to hold it against you. Right? It's that good. It is that good. It's in that class. So.
But yeah, I mean, but those are the games that kind of like inspired me to make the comic because that's what I really enjoy was that kind of stuff. It was a big part of my youth and growing up. And like I said, I still play WoW when I can. So yeah.
I couldn't play WoW, and here's because it was too good. It was just It was too good. It was one of those things where I just realized. So I did it twice. First time, what I remember about it was 8 hours of my life gone like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second time I played it was another 8 hours of my life gone like that. And I had a very, very, very I'm one of those really immersive kind of players. I really get into stuff.
Yeah.
I need a game to have like an actual endpoint for this reason because it doesn't have an end. What?
Yeah. I said, not that game.
No. So that's why I don't play it. Right. It's one of those things where I just look at it and go, I can't do it.
Yeah, I got deep into that, man. It was like me and all my friends, we were all like, hey, man, let's just try this game out. And we all played different classes. And, oh, boy.
Now, I do play Hearthstone, so I get to see some of the lore in Hearthstone.
Yeah, I like Hearthstone, too. Hearthstone's cool.
But yeah, it's not my favorite card game, but but the characters are okay. The Lich King is still one of my all-time favorite cards because he's just fun. The voice is fun. The character is just fun. Also, when you fight him in the Hearthstone, you show up with like a little penguin.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it is one of the most hilarious little things you see from him. He actually gets all like, oh, it's such a cute little penguin, right there in his voice. It's hilarious. Or if you play the Lich King against the Lich King, it's also hilarious because they compliment each other for 2 minutes. It's like that's the thing I love about Hearthstone. Again, we're talking about immersion of world.
Oh yeah,
right.
That's right.
As a game, my favorite card game right now, Shadowverse. It's better, but from an immersive world experience, Hearthstone's still a very popular game because it's a really freaking cool world. Right? It's just a really cool world, right?
Yeah.
I love some of my favorite cards are from WoW. Sylvanas, love Sylvanas, one of the all-time best cards. They banned it. They will never bring her back for a very good reason because she's a little too good, right? Zephyrus the Great, the Lich King, Alistraza. I mean, they have some momentous all-time great characters. So you can it's really easy to invest yourself in the game. Also, my personal favorite thing was the Noxtramus adventure where you fight Nefarian at the very end is the best adventure. They never topped it. It's the only thing I will say. They never could top that adventure. Although the Lich King comes close.
Yeah.
Nefarian was so much fun to play against.
Yeah, that whole expansion with the Death Knights and the Lich King was awesome, man. That was so much fun.
It's still my favorite set of all time in Hearthstone. Yeah. I don't actually play standard Hearthstone anymore.
Oh, I understand.
I just don't because it's just not. It's not as fun. My favorite format was Journey to Ungoro. Lich King set.
Journey to Ungoro was cool.
Yeah, and I can't remember the kobolds and catacombs. That whole.
Oh, that was great.
Yeah. That was the same block, right? Yeah. It was it's my favorite block in Hearthstone history, right? And
dude, I blew so much money that year on Hearthstone. It was embarrassing.
Yeah.
I was going back and said, wait a minute, I think it's $100 in this shit this year. I was like, oh man, this is bad.
Yeah. No, because that's the peak.
Those were good sets. I agree with you, man. I think the Lich King one was each hero could turn into a Death Knight.
Yeah, no, and all the Death Knights were good except for maybe the Shaman one. But even so, he was still fun. He was still fun.
Evolve, it can evolve. Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, no, they thematically fit, and even the ones you thought that my favorite one of the Death Knights was the Hunter.
Oh yeah, because you You piece the animals together.
Yeah. I was like,
that was dope.
Yeah, no, but it wasn't. It never as powerful as those cards were. They never felt like I tried playing when the quest lines came out.
Yeah.
No. Like no, because it's not. Because again, in terms of, I want to play a game. The thing about games is games are all their language is interaction.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not interacting with you playing a game that I'm supposed to be playing against you, why am I playing the game?
That's right. That's a good point.
Right. So now I go play Wild. You know, it's got all kinds of busted stuff. It's busted everywhere. So it's kind of like a level playing field. And and right now my favorite decks there are Mech Paladin, because mechs are fun, and Reno Jackson Mage.
Good old Reno, man.
Yeah.
So, rich.
Yes. Love it. Yeah, but cool immersive stuff.
Oh yeah.
Right. Cool immersive stuff. That's why Hearthstone's still popular. Even though, like I said, I will never play Standard again. I
understand that. Yeah. But yeah. But that's part of the reason why my comic is the way it is. I was definitely trying to get that feel where everything's consistent, consistent immersion, getting you into the world. Like one thing that I like about modern comics, and I'm sure that I'm in a minority with that, is I don't like it when you pick up a comic and there's like a cover, and the cover is like nice, painted, looks dope. Like, oh, this looks amazing. You open up the book, totally different artist.
No, I think
immersion breaking right there. Boom, you're like, oh, you're out of it. So yeah.
Here's the thing: the artists can be different, but there has to be a tying theme.
Yes,
right. There has to be a tie. There has to be a bit of a tying theme. For example, right. So I mean that's why variant covers have always had a very haphazard relationship with the industry.
Mm-hmm.
What occasional now again, the company knows what it's doing, is tailoring to a very specific audience, but I think they variant cover too much, and it was like I look at something like Zenoscope and I'm like, you do that too much, because then you just do it too much, because your cover's going to be really dope, but the interiors do not compete with that. And because of that, you make the interiors look cheap.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do that, you create the idea to the person that the comic's cheap.
That's
and
true.
You don't want to create that. Now, that doesn't mean, like, again, you want to get a cover that draws people in. And that's fine. I totally get that. There's a reason why Mark Park or Anvu get work, because or Steph Wilson or any of those people, because they get work. But the thing, okay, so in Steph's case, he's so stylized.
Yeah.
It's fun, right? It's not trying to be. He's not ruining expectations, because he's established himself to the point where his work creates a certain ambiance. Almost like it's the seal of approval for the book on the inside, and the book's completely different.
Sure.
And there are artists that do that. But for the most part, if I am going to get an artist to do the book, it has to fit the book. Or why would I do that? They can be better, but not to such a degree that it feels like if it is a step down, it's only a slight step down. It's not going to make the audience goes, okay, the cover's better, but it's still pretty badass in here. That's what you want. Not, oh, this cover's amazing.
Yep.
You look in the inside, it's like, and I get it too. It's much harder to do the interiors of a comic, and that's the other thing too. I mean, that makes it even worse. Is
Absolutely.
The guy doing the interiors is the one really busting his ass.
He's the workhorse. I agree.
Yeah, and he's the one really busting his ass, because it's such a, and so it devalues him when it shouldn't, and you should be building him up. So if you are going to get and sometimes, and then the last thing too, I love Terry Moore. I don't know if you ever read anything by Terry Moore.
I have.
Right? Yeah. I don't think his covers are the greatest. Him getting a cover artist would actually, I think, enhance his books, because his interiors are freaking amazing. Right? But he doesn't necessarily, again, in my opinion, his cover, like, he's not a cover artist. He's an illustrator, a world-class one, but he's not a cover artist.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if he had Riley Rossmo doing his covers? Riley's not a stretch for
Adam
Terry.
Hughes. You can afford Adam Hughes.
You don't want Hughes for you could do Hughes with strangers, which I don't think you could do Hughes with everything he does.
No, but yeah, strangers.
Yeah, for strangers for sure,
Mm-hmm.
but not necessarily everything else.
No.
Riley, you could do it all, but maybe strangers.
Sure.
Right. That's so. Again, I'm picking a guy that fits the brand, and it's not like you're going to feel. Would you be disappointed with a Riley Rossmo cover in Terry Moore Interiors? I don't think you would be.
No. But my thing though is like, and what I'm seeing Kickstarter a lot now too. I'm seeing like a lot of people doing a lot of variant covers for their comics, and I think that's an interesting situation because, like, let's say like you're doing like your first issue on your Kickstarter, and you got like 25 variants. I'm like, yikes!
Well, I think there's a fine line. Again, there's a fine line with that because
I agree.
Again,
yeah.
Right. I look at Spectrus in Spain. He's got 6 different artists. I think that's a good number.
That's a good number.
6. Yeah. That's a good number.
Sure.
I'm not saying you should do that with every book you do, but let's say but variant covers are a strategy you want to employ.
Absolutely.
Right. Right.
Next time doing variant covers next time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. And again, not knocking it.
Uh-uh.
Not knocking it at all, right? But you're not going to do 20.
No.
You might not ever do 10. You might do 5. Right?
I was thinking about like 3. But yeah, I agree.
Right? Yeah, right? Right. 3's fine too. Right? Sometimes less is more.
Yeah. Well, someone told me when I did a Kickstarter, you should do variant covers because it gives someone something unique about the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
If I support this, I'll get this cover that's never coming around ever again. And I was like, that's a great idea. I got to launch at this point, but you know what? Next time, I'm definitely going to.
Yeah, and that is a great. And the other thing too, a cover, like I said, I mentioned Steph Wilson. A cover artist can draw people into a book.
Steph isn't. Yes, yeah, he brings them in.
Yeah, I know.
At least 30. At least 30 backers immediately when you got a Steph cover. It's just how it is.
Yeah, but that's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? That's good. You want that, and that is where. So that's the benefit of variant covers. But again, I think it has to be something very fun like Steph's. Right? Something, right? That's why I think also cheesecake books can get away with it a little bit more.
Yeah. Yes, they can.
They can get away with it a little bit. Because they're designed to be. I'm a big Bill Maws guy. I don't know if you're like Bill Maws or not, but I'm a big Bill Maws guy.
Mm-hmm.
Naira is a silly book, but like in a fun way. It's not trying to be anything more than what it is. That's why I like Bill's stuff. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I had nothing against cheesecake. I think it's great stuff, man. If you can get that, if you're an artist that can draw beautiful women, you're going to make a lot of money in this field. You just are.
Yeah.
It's great. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity for stuff like that. So.
Always.
Yeah.
So before we went off, any book? We talked games. So what was you talked some fantasy movies? Any fantasy books?
Just the typical stuff. Like I was a Harry Potter nerd for a while.
Nothing wrong with that.
I don't know. I'm kind of ashamed of it now. Not because of Rowling, not because of that, but just because of I don't know. Looking back, some of it wasn't as good. I was like really into it, man.
Oh yeah,
I'm really into it. Like I was like Universal Studios, man. I was like nerding out. How I have my little cloak on, my wand. I was like running around the place. Yeah, so in my 30s.
I was Gilderoy Lockhart at a party because I think right.
Okay, so. You win.
Yes.
But yeah, Harry Potter was one. What else was a really big one for me? Oh, there was a couple other ones, man, like just random fancy books that I would read when I was younger. Um, what's one? I'm trying to. There's a few, but yeah, Harry Potter was the big one more recently. I don't read as much as I used to when I was younger, but yeah, Harry Potter was like the last fantasy series that I really, really got into.
Okay, that's cool. I'm so big fantasy nerd, so I'm a big Brandon Sanderson guy. Like I said, I mentioned him earlier. Like his stuff. I like Fondly. I'm reading Victoria Aveyard right now, and I'm enjoying like the indie. Like I said, I have never fully grown up. I think I'm okay with that.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. All right, I got one last question. I think we're going to wrap this bad boy up because I've made you laugh. I've hurt your neck a little bit. I can, yeah. Still here.
I got a pad ready to go as soon as this is over.
Yeah, exactly. So my question. So here's my question: since you write and you draw, what is your favorite thing to draw?
Oh, yes. Oh,
yeah.
Sorry.
No, sorry. So what's your favorite?
What's your favorite
no, there will be. But first, we'll start there. Favorite thing to draw.
Everything to draw. Everything to draw is people. I like drawing character concepts. I like, saying, hey, I want to create a character, and I like just drawing like random character concepts. So that's probably the most fun for me is that aspect of it.
That's really cool. And lastly, and this is the thing. Now, again, we'll go back to the writing comic thing. What did you learn to it? Like, you stepped away, gotten older / wiser. I don't know you well enough to say whether you gotten wiser or not, but we'll assume yes for the sake of this. You came back into comics this year, like you coming back. What's the biggest difference?
Just more opportunity, man. I mean, it just seems like there's a lot more doors opened for people looking to break in, looking to get their brand established. Like the ecosystem that's in place now is just so much better than what it was when I left like about 10, 15 years ago. If you want to like make t-shirts for your comic, you can do it. If you want to make hats and apparel, you can do it. If you want to make stickers and like cups and just merchandise, it's easier to do now. It's easier to get your book out there to people. A lot more outlets, it's just a better, kind of like what you said, it's a lot more decentralized. It's just way easier for you to get your foot in the door and just, get it right into the hands of your audience. So, that's the biggest difference. It really is.
All right. Well, Mr. Mason, I think we have an interview here. What do you think?
I think so too.
Yeah, it was fun.
Absolutely, man. It was great talking to you, bro.
Yeah. So why don't you do here? I'm gonna put the Kickstarter up here right now. Why don't you do the Cliff Notes pitch of this for everybody watching and listening?
All right. Well, Legend of Azure is a fantasy action series. If you pledge to Kickstarter, you get the first book in the series. It's a graphic novel, 110 full color pages of action fantasy adventure that you're going to enjoy. And the main character is named Azure Andewolf, and he's a great character, and I think you'll like him a lot. So yeah, check it out and back it.
All right. Is there anywhere people want people to find you at?
Yeah, Instagram, ME_Mason Easley at Instagram, DeviantArt, Mason Easley Studios .deviantart.com, and you just Google my name and you'll find plenty of places to find it.
Did I get that right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yes. Trained professional, ladies and gentlemen. I almost know what I'm doing.
You're the man, Josh. Thank you.
Yeah. So for everybody that's watching, listening, you can check out Mason Easley. And before I wrap up, once again, I mentioned this at the beginning of the show. Click on if you want to support this podcast, one of the best ways to do it is just to click on this link real fast. This is Spectrum since Bane 1 to 4. It's also closing this week as well. So definitely check that out. And that, my friends, is that for tonight. Tomorrow, I got Sean Forney coming in and talk about his Kickstarter. It's going to be a fun one. Awesome. So for everybody watching, everybody listening, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Stay inspired. Keep shining in the dark. And I'll see you guys next time.